Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Very clear on the backside of the sun, and the earth is rotated around the sun because who's hitting the earth is rotated around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth now. The solar wind is also
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you might be on this planet of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. My name is Ron Tyler. Welcome to the show. We are broadcasting from our area command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Want to welcome everybody to the show tonight. Let's go over right now and do the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem. That is going to be given by the United States Army Barbershop Quartet.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was
Folks, we need to let them know it too. These are America's finest, the United States military. Yes, these represent our entire military. These guys are from the United States Army. They deserve everything. I want to thank all of our military forces, wherever they might be around the world, here in this country as well. I want to thank our allied forces, wherever they might be stationed with our forces, wherever. We appreciate them, we love them, and we thank them for their service. And we all hope and pray that all these fine young men and women would return home to their families after their tours of duty end. God bless you guys, and thank you for your service. We appreciate that ever so much. Folks, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Literally, we have a ton of things to talk about. First off, I want to talk about a disaster drill that's in progress right now. Okay? This disaster drill has been planned for probably 2, maybe even close to 3 years now. Why am I talking about it now? Because quite honestly, it's been under wraps for quite a long time. What am I trying to tell you? The powers that be did not want it going out what was going to happen. Okay? I honestly believe that they were fearful that something might happen in coordination with this drill that's ongoing. Okay? This is a public alert notice that was put up in the local papers and on the television stations all over Harris County, Texas, including Houston, Texas. Now, folks, that's a huge area, and I understand that. Okay? It's a huge, huge area. It encompasses a bunch of cities as well. But this is a public alert notice that was put up in the Houston area. Again, Houston County is all over this area that I'm showing you right now. Okay? I'm going to keep this picture up for just a few minutes here. I want to tell you what's happening. Okay? This training exercise started Monday. The preparations for it started last Friday. And I'm talking about local preparations involving all the leadership of Harris County, including the mayors and city councils of the surrounding cities in Harris County. It is a large-scale, multi-agency nuclear incident training exercise. It's taking place, started out on May 1st, Monday. It's going through Friday. Okay? It's in southeast Houston and Harris County. The training exercise will not pose any risk to area residents. Please do not be alarmed if you live in that area by training-related activity. The FBI did not provide more details about the training. The things that I have to talk to you about tonight are things that I've come up with. Harris County is a county located in the U.S. state of Texas, as this map shows. As of the 2020 census 3 years ago, there were 4,731,145 citizens, making it the most populous county in Texas, and the third most populous county in the United States. Its county seat is Houston, the largest city in Texas and the fourth largest city in the U.S. Lots of towns and cities encompass Harris County. Houston is the main one. The city of Rockford, Pasadena, Texas, Baytown, Texas, La Porte, Deer Park, and McKesney Park, M-A-C-H-E-S-N-E-Y, McKesney Park. and Loves Park. According to the U.S. Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration, a similar major radiological incident exercise was carried out last May in Austin, Texas. Officials said that other federal agencies involved in the exercise are the Department of Defense, National Guard troops, the Department of Energy, the National Nuclear Security Administration, and the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security is a huge umbrella of a lot of different federal agencies. Okay? If you see SUVs running around, they're white SUVs with a blue decal, and they'll say Homeland Security on the decal. And then there will be an 800 number to call if you have questions of Homeland Security. Those calls are routed to Denver, Colorado, to the communication center in Denver, Colorado, the dispatch center. And they will answer any questions you have if you come upon a Homeland Security vehicle. Okay? Harris County Sheriff's Office is involved. The Houston Police Department and other various agencies, including fire and paramedics as well. Several of the local television stations are also covering parts of the drill. Local law enforcement agencies as well as the FBI are also still looking for, well, actually they're not still looking for, the suspect has been found that killed 5 people in Cleveland, Texas. That also is located near Houston. They caught him this past weekend. The suspect is identified as Francisco Oropeza. Francisco Oropeza. He's a 38-year-old male Mexican national who is in the United States illegally. So far, up until now, they're not talking about who he is necessarily, other than he is an unlawful person in the United States. He has a large history of wrongdoing both here in the United States and south of the border. His neighbors were reportedly asking him to stop firing his nug because a baby was trying to sleep in the nearby area. Officials told a local news outlet, and authorities later added that the video footage shows Oropeza heading to their home. The FBI bulletin about training also comes days after President JB warned North Korea's regime that a nuclear attack would be responded with overwhelming force from the United States. That's what the president of South Korea was told. JB made those comments when he met with South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol in South Korea last week. It also comes after Russian officials have repeatedly warned that Russia-Ukraine conflict will spark a nuclear conflict. Since the war erupted in February 2022, almost a year and a half ago, there have been repeated warnings from the Kremlin officials about the specter of nuclear conflict between Moscow and the West. Although U.S. officials have not said there is any indication that Russia may use a nuclear device, Russia had said they were going to use nuclear weapons. And in fact, they put nuclear devices over in Belarus. Nuclear missiles over in Belarus. Every day when they provide Ukraine with foreign weapons brings the nuclear apocalypse closer, according to former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, who currently heads the Russia's Security Council. He said this in March. Let's imagine the leader of a nuclear power visiting the territory of Germany and he's arrested. Medvedev was referring to an recent incident involving the International Criminal Court arrest. They had a overreaching arrest warrant that was issued for President Vladimir Putin. In this case, our assets will be flying to hit Bundestag, the Chancellor's office, and so on. So Medvedev made a threat against Germany if anyone was going to arrest President Putin, they would have a nuclear threat on their head. Now, this is not taken lightly. For about a year or so since that war started, Putin has already warned the United States and the West, all of our allies. He's even threatened Britain with a nuclear attack. He's threatened Scandinavia with a nuclear attack if they join NATO, which they did. The Russia Federation has put out millions of their young men on the border of Ukraine and Belarus and that whole area. They've taken heavy losses. Ukraine has also taken heavy losses. We found out just a few weeks ago that the United States has men on the ground there. At first, the U.S. was denying it. Then they said the only people that were on the ground from the U.S. were training people, training the Ukrainian military how to use the weapons that we provided. The same thing with Britain, saying they had only put people there to train the Ukrainian people. But again, the West people, the soldiers, are on the ground in Ukraine. Now, I'm going to shift from Texas, where that drill is taking place. The drill will end on Friday afternoon, probably late. Okay? But if you see any people from the National Guard, if you see police and sheriffs and firefighters and paramedics, they may be related to that event. Please do not interfere with them. Unless you're directly involved with that training exercise, stay out of the way. Stay out of the way. Okay, I'm going to shift gears here. I want to talk now about the situation at the border. I have quite a bit to tell you. The question came up earlier today. What is the new Biden humanitarian parole program? Biden's been talking about it. His press secretary, Jean-Pierre, has been also talking about it. The humanitarian parole program is, in contrast, requiring immigrants to first have a sponsor here in the United States who will take financial responsibility for settling the new migrants in, and expeditiously offers a work permit for those that are approved to come into the United States. The agency that purports to actually be an agency, which they're not, I'm going to show you just a second who they are. This agency right here. Okay? I'm not going to name their names. I don't want to get taken down. But this agency right here, in August 2021, they put out an order prolonging Title 42 pandemic policy, stating that Title 42 ends when the public health emergency ends. JB's administration and federal courts have kept Title 42 in place, pending a United States Supreme Court ruling. The administration has meanwhile expanded its scope to expel nationalities that are more aggressive. As it nears the anniversary of the Title 42 going into effect, Title 42 has expelled migrants over 2.6 million times. 2.6 million migrants have been expelled from the United States. And I'm saying supposedly. I'm going to say that guardedly. Supposedly, 2.6 million people have been kicked out of the United States. Why do I say supposedly? Because JB's administration wants these people in, hoping that they will vote for the Democrat communists to keep them in power during elections. This past Thursday, the U.S. Supreme Court canceled arguments that it had scheduled over a pandemic-era policy known as Title 42 that allowed U.S. border officials to swiftly expel migrants, after the JB's administration said the case would be rendered moot once the border restrictions expire in early May, which we're at. Amid a protracted statement in Congress, a stalemate over immigration, JB has opened a back door to allow hundreds of thousands of new migrants into the U.S., significantly expanding the use of humanitarian parole programs for people escaping war and political turmoil around the world. Now, these measures introduced over the past year to offer refuge to people fleeing Ukraine, Haiti, and Latin America, offering migrants the opportunity to fly to the United States and quickly secure work authorization, providing they have a private sponsor to take responsibility for them here in this country. As of mid-April, some 300,000 Ukrainians had arrived in the United States under various programs, a number greater than all the people from around the world admitted through the official U.S. refugee program in the last 5 years. As of mid-April, some 300,000 immigrants from Ukraine arrived in the United States. 300,000. By the end of 2023, about 360,000 Venezuelans, Cubans, Nicaraguans, Haitians are expected to gain admission through a similar private sponsorship initiative that was introduced in January to stem unauthorized crossings at the southern border. More people than were issued immigration visas from these countries in the last 15 years combined. The Biden administration has also greatly expanded the number of people who are in the United States with what is known as a temporary protected status, a program that Donald Trump, former president, had sought to terminate. About 670,000 people from 16 countries had their protections extended or become newly eligible since JB took office. According to a new report from the Pew Research Center, indeed, on the same day that Jean-Pierre claimed in her press conference, claimed immigration had improved, the Border Patrol announced that more than 22,000 migrants had been apprehended in the previous 72 hours. Let me repeat that. On the same day that the President's press secretary claimed that immigration had improved, the Border Patrol announced that more than 22,000 migrants had been apprehended in the previous 72 hours. 22,000. Now, this week, possibly even beginning now, today, there is a process going on in South Central America and in Mexico of people from around the world flying into Mexico and rushing the border. JB announced this past weekend that he was sending 1,500 National Guard troops to the border. He said that. But what he didn't say until recently, within the last even 48 hours, is those 1,500 National Guard troops were just a ploy. Yes, he was sending them to the border to do administrative work and letting the Border Patrol do its job to try to prevent other unlawful immigrations to occur. These migrants are rushing the border, I believe, as we speak. JB said specifically this weekend that those troops were sent to the border to stop the rush of migrants that we're saying were going to be rushing the border this week. Now he's speaking an entirely different story. A completely different story. Saying those National Guard troops are going to be doing administrative work and are not going to be armed. That's going to leave the Border Patrol, Customs Border Protection, police and sheriff's deputies up and across the border from Arizona into Texas and parts of New Mexico to stop the unlawful rush of migrants, which is almost impossible. Now, on the YouTube platform, there's a gentleman that's made a great deal of progress talking about the unlawful assault on our border, showing migrants getting caught, but also showing migrants that have rushed the border and have gotten away. He's interviewed sheriff's deputies and police all across Arizona and Texas. You can find that information on YouTube. I don't believe I'm being allowed the opportunity to put up a link to those programs, but it's there. I'm telling you, because I've watched it. And today, I believe he's going to release more information in terms of videos. But it's there. Okay? I want everybody to know about it because it's going to become very dangerous. It's going to become very, very dangerous to be on the border in law enforcement uniforms, because they have absolutely no support from anyone to protect themselves, to do their job. Very little support from anybody. So folks, it's going to get nasty. It's going to become very nasty, at least for the time being. Okay? Now, I've hated even talking about it because of what I already know. But things are going to get bad. Really, really bad. Before I go further, we're going to be talking from this point forward about earthquakes. I first want to start in Southern California, and there's a reason. Okay? I want to make sure that we pick up where we left off during the past weekend. Since the past weekend. Let's zoom in here to Imperial Valley, California, and just south of the border in Mexicali. I'm going to start here in Heber City, California. You're seeing this image here that I'm putting in front of you on the USGS map. You can critically tell where the U.S.-Mexican border is. You can tell where the United States of America is. Which side of the border. Okay? We've just had a new earthquake. It was red here. This hit approximately 2 miles northwest of Calexico. Calexico is this city right here on the U.S. side of the border. On the other side of the border, you have Mexico, the town of Mexicali. Okay? This earthquake that I'm showing you here is a 1.6 tremor. Okay, this is northwest of Heber. We've talked a great deal about Heber this past weekend. We've had over 100 earthquakes, over 100 epicenters down here. Most of them centered over here in Heber and Mexicali. A few of them were east, a few of them were north, and a few of them were west, where these earthquakes are. This is a 1.6 tremor here. This is a 2.1 earthquake. 2 miles, 4 kilometers, and they say this is south-southwest of Heber. It's not. This is northwest of Heber. This earthquake in red, they got this one right. This is northwest of Heber, but so is this. USGS got this one ass backwards. Okay? But it's a 2.1 earthquake. Now, folks, they're not telling us everything. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you that they're not telling us everything. Okay? Right up here, I should have showed you this too. Just northwest of there. This is a 1.6 tremor here. But it's interesting to note. This tremor here, USGS has demarcated this tremor is 1 mile west-southwest of Heber. And yet, it is probably about 3 to 4 miles northwest of Heber. Again, Heber's down here. Okay? If these two earthquakes were 1 mile or 2 miles away, this one here has to be at least 3 to 4 miles away. USGS cannot have its cake and eat it too. Again, this is just another example of not telling people the truth. It's not just a mistake. They make this mistake too often. This is very much the pattern with this agency. Now, I'm not here to harp on the USGS necessarily. I want to report on the earthquakes around. That's why we're doing this broadcast. Over here, this is a 1.6 tremor in Westmoreland. Now, Caltech has not released the seismograms for Southern California today. The last time they released them was for Sunday. Today's Wednesday. Usually by Tuesday or Wednesday in any given week, they have another release. Usually we have updated information, but yet Caltech has not provided that to us. Usually we have a seismogram coming from a seismograph here in Westmoreland. They haven't given it to us. But again, this is a 1.6 tremor in Westmoreland. As we go north, okay, this, folks, they are telling us is in Nyland, California. Well, Nyland's close enough, so I'll accept that. We have to. We don't have a choice. They are telling us it is southwest of Nyland. 9 kilometers southwest of Nyland. No, it's not. No, it's not. Nyland, California is right here. Nyland, California is right here. It's not 9 kilometers southwest of anything. Okay? Right here is another epicenter here. This is a 1.1 tremor. They say this is 11 kilometers west-southwest of Nyland. That it is. That it is. Finally. Finally. Okay? It's interesting. We're showing 6 earthquakes here in Imperial Valley. 4 south and 2 north. Now, I'm going to leave, well, no, I'm not quite yet. I'm going to show you a few other earthquakes here in this area so you'll understand what we're seeing. Okay? Right here, this is Aveyah Wells. This is southwest of the Salton Sea. This is a 1.3, a tremor. This is a 2.5 minor earthquake. This is a 2.2 minor earthquake. Aveyah Wells. Then we go north here. It's interesting to note. They're telling us that this is a 1.0 tremor, 5 kilometers, 2.5 miles east of Aveyah Wells. Okay? This is the desert floor west of the Salton Sea. Right here, we have another tremor. This is a 0.8 microquake. Now let me back this out. I want to show you this. Look where these earthquakes are occurring. See that red line here? See that red line where these earthquakes are occurring? What is it? That's a San Jacinto fault. The San Jacinto fault. These earthquakes that are occurring right here, folks, these 3 earthquakes, Westmoreland and Nyland, California, these earthquakes are on the San Andreas Fault. They're on the San Andreas Fault. Let me back this out. See the red line that runs along the eastern side of the Salton Sea, and it goes underneath the water of the Salton Sea over here at Bombay Beach? Yes, folks, that's Bombay Beach right there. The San Andreas Fault runs underneath the Salton Sea here. It comes out from underneath the Salton Sea right here. right here where these epicenters are. Then it runs in a southwesterly direction to over here to Westmoreland. Then let me back this out so you can see what happens here. Okay? See the San Andreas Fault run straight through Imperial Valley, east of Heber, and then straight down through Mexico here, all the way down into the Gulf of California. And it goes all the way through the Gulf of California, folks, and it runs down the southwestern side of Mexico. Okay? So that's what's going on. So these earthquakes that we have seen over here in Heber have very little to do with the San Andreas Fault. Okay? There are other faults here in this area. There are other faults all over this area. They are ancillary faults. Okay? I also need to tell you this. There was one other YouTuber that claimed that all those earthquakes here in Heber, all these earthquakes here in Heber were due to a geothermal power station. And we showed you that geothermal power station on Saturday, I think on Sunday. Okay? Yes, there is a geothermal power station down here in Heber. However, do you want to know where the drill points are? They're further north in the Imperial Valley. The drill points run down underneath Heber and come up at the power plant. Okay? It's all together. There is hot piping. There is white plastic piping all over this area. Most of the piping runs along streets, major thoroughfares around the Imperial Valley. It runs from the drill points that pull the steam out of the Salton Butte volcano, the upper magma chambers of the Salton Butte volcano, and transfers that steam to the power station to be converted into electricity by powering turbines. That's what's actually going on. Okay? There are 6 power stations, maybe more. I was told this past year that there were 6 power stations here in the Imperial Valley. And I've located almost all of them. Almost all of them. Yes, the drill points that go down into the upper magma chambers of the Salton Butte volcano have an effect on seismic energy. As I've said before, the drill points are man-made earthquake faults. Man-made earthquake faults. Those drill points do attract seismic energy. And when that seismic energy comes onto the coast, into land, it causes earthquakes where it finds an earthquake fault. In this case, a man-made earthquake fault. But not all of them. Not all of them. I believe some of these earthquakes that hit were on ancillary faults from the San Andreas. The San Andreas is the largest fault zone here in Southern California. Ancillary faults run all over the region. Okay? literally all over the region. Now, when Caltech puts out the information and gives us real current information, which they should be doing at any time now, I will come on there and show it to you. That's a promise for me, because I know for a fact what is actually going on here. And it's not good. It's not good at all. Now I'm going to back that up with information that I'm going to show you. Okay? So I've shown you these earthquakes around the Salton Sea on the San Andreas and the San Jacinto Fault. Further north here, on the San Jacinto Fault, we have an earthquake here. It's in the Anza-Borrego Desert. The Anza-Borrego Desert State Park, northeast San Diego County. Look at this swarm here. These are also on the San Jacinto. There's a 1.5. Right next to it is a 0.5 microquake. This is 0.8 microquake in Idlewild, California. I've told you many times about Idlewild. In the wintertime with snow on the ground, which I believe it still does, Idlewild is a tourist trap for skiers. Anytime during the year, there are people that are sightseeing here in Idlewild. There's cabins there to rent. There's great restaurants. There are curio shops, all sorts of cool stuff there in Idlewild. They ought to be paying me for talking about it. Right here, this is a 2.9, 3.0 magnitude earthquake in Idlewild. A 2.9, 3.0 magnitude earthquake in Idlewild, California. That's one of the biggest quakes that I've seen hit here in quite some time. Right beside it is another issue. This is a 1.7 tremor. We go further north. This, folks, is San Jacinto. San Jacinto. It's the peak, the mountain. It's at the base of the mountain. This is a 0.6 microquake. Okay? But I wanted to go down here. This is also in the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park, northeast San Diego County. It's a 1.2 tremor. We go further south and west. This is Lake Henshaw, just northeast of Escondido, California. I lived in Escondido, California. I used to go fishing at Lake Henshaw. Okay? Been there, done that. Down here is another representation of a quarry blast. Okay? This, they say, is in San Diego, Rancho San Diego Estates. 2 kilometers from a housing development, allegedly. And I'm saying allegedly. They're calling this a quarry blast. Well, guess what, folks? Look what it is. It is not a quarry blast. It's right in the middle of a residential area that is a golf course. Again, USGS calls it something else. It's not. This is a tremor. We've had this occur many, many times before at Rancho San Diego Golf Course. This is a 1.2 tremor, not a quarry blast. Okay? This is 5 kilometers deep. just over 2 miles deep. Definitely not a quarry blast. They post these things and they don't even look where they're at. Okay? What a joke. What a frickin' joke this is. You know, I would not almost even care, but it's in my old stomping grounds. I have friends that live in Rancho San Diego Estates. Crazy. It's pure craziness. Anyway, I want to show you this one. I've done extensive research on where this earthquake is. It's a 1.1 tremor. It may have been a little larger than that. But the problem I have with it is where it's at. Okay? I used to live right over here. I'm going to show you where I used to live. You can't really tell much of anything because we can't get any closer than this. I lived on Foothill, just off of Foothill Drive here in Vista, California at one time. One time. Back in about 1979, 1980. Okay? This is Vista, California. I did not venture much up into the hills east of Vista. Now, there is a roadway right here from Vista, California, all the way out towards north of Escondido. I traveled that road a lot, but I did not realize what was back in these hills to the north. I found out today this is a huge lava field. This whole area is what they call the San Marcos Mountains, northeast of Vista, California. It's a huge lava field, guys. And maybe tomorrow I will zoom in on Google Earth and give you a picture of an area where there was a magma intrusion that did not break the surface. It's a circular area like this. A circular area just like this, maybe a quarter of a mile in diameter, where magma came up through a magma dike in the crust and did not break the surface. Okay? It's here. I just was goofing around because I wanted to pinpoint where this earthquake was. It's in a great, big, huge lava field. I did not expect to see that. Okay? Now, with that said, look how large it is. Look how large that lava field is. This is amazing. I lived here and nobody even talked about it. There are people that live in these hills. Some of these hills have burned during wildland fires in the past. But I did not even figure that there was lava in them there hills. It's interesting to note that now. But I want to show you that. I thought it probably is very important. That only means that this volcano over in the Salton Sea, the Salton Butte volcano, is not the only lava field that there is. It's not the only volcano. I did see some craters that have over the years been eroded by water, and this area was overflowing with water at one time, a lot of eras ago. But it's a lava field nonetheless. Okay? Now, we talked about the San Andreas Fault a lot. I go up here into LA. This is Villa Park in LA. This is a 1.3 tremor here. We go to the eastern side of Los Angeles. Guess what, folks? This is Loma Linda, California. Loma Linda, California. Just east of this seismic event. It's only 1.1 tremor, but just east of it is the famous, internationally known Loma Linda Medical Center. This is not the first time a seismic event has gotten this close to Loma Linda Medical Center. But I wanted to point this out. This is also very important. Why is it so important? This is also part of that huge area just north of the Anza Gap. This area can get hit with earthquakes as well. A lot of earthquakes. North of it, this is Little Creek. Lytle Creek. Okay? This, folks, is a 1.0 magnitude tremor. Guess where it's at? It's right here on the San Andreas Fault here. There are other faults in this area as well. Now, I'm going to go north, because up here to the north there is another earthquake, and it's not affiliated with the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault is just east of there. This is Castaic, California. We've had large earthquakes here in Castaic before. This is a 1.9, 2.0 earthquake. A 1.9, 2.0 earthquake. Why am I talking about it? It's not on the fault zone of the San Andreas Fault. Again, there are other ancillary faults in this area. And I don't know which fault this is that we're showing you right here, but you can see it, it's on the fault zone. It's on the fault zone. There's always a reason where we have earthquakes. Yesterday over here, just north of the Garlock Fault, we had a 2.0 magnitude earthquake here in Tehachapi. Right over here in Tehachapi. Interstate 15 goes through Tehachapi, a very, very dangerous stretch of roadway. Okay? But we have the Garlock Fault here. And today we have no reported fault or earthquakes up and down the Garlock. Isn't that interesting? But as soon as we get up here into Ridgecrest area, you're seeing some earthquakes, aren't we? Right here. This is a 0.8 magnitude microquake. Ridgecrest, California. Just northeast of Ridgecrest, California. North of there, this, folks, is in Searles Valley. This is part of the Mojave Valley Desert area. We just have to go north, right here. All of a sudden, folks, what do we have here? A large swarm of earthquakes. This is Little Lake, California. This is a 3.1 magnitude earthquake. This hit earlier this morning, just right before 8 a.m. this morning. Okay? All these other earthquakes are aftershocks of this 3 here. This one's a 3.1. This one here is a 1.8. Right here is a 1.6. This is a 1.4. Notice where I'm going with this? Southeast of there is another 1.4. All of these others are tremors. They're just tremors from that 3.1 quake. Okay? This may have been larger than that, considering all these tremors that are around it. Usually get a pretty good sized quake and it'll cause tremors, but usually not with a 3.0, 3.1, and that's what this is. But I want to show you this. We haven't had this many earthquakes in Little Lake, California in over a year. And before that was right before the Ridgecrest quake hit. This whole area of the Mojave Desert was covered, side to side, top to bottom, in earthquakes, going all the way from here and all the way down into San Diego County. This whole area was covered in earthquakes and tremors throughout this whole cotton picking area. Okay? Now, I'm moving north, and there's a reason I'm moving north here. Okay? There are other earthquakes in this area as well. Okay? Let me back out here. There are other earthquakes as well. I wonder why. I wonder why. Where did they go? Where are earthquakes here? Why, oh why did they move? Out in Nevada, we have small swarms, but it's all over the place. Okay? For instance, this, it's a minus 0.4. Okay? What does that tell us? It's above sea level in Beatty, Nevada. That, folks, Beatty, Nevada is a huge lava area, a huge lava field. Craters and cones are all over this area. To the northeast here, this, folks, is Hiko, Nevada, or Hiko, Nevada, H-I-K-O. This is a 2.1 earthquake, and I believe this is also a lava region. A lava region. We go north here. This is Goldfield, Nevada. It's also a lava field. Okay? Let's go up here. They're not showing any earthquakes at all over here in Mammoth and Long Valley. We go up here just east of Mono Lake. This area is called Lee Vining, California. Aurora Bodie craters. Aurora Bodie craters. This is a 1.3 tremor at a volcano. At a volcano. These earthquakes here, there's two of them out here. Remember Mina and Tonopah, Nevada, where we had, I believe it was a 6.9 magnitude earthquake some 3 years ago out here in the desert? There were probably 4,000 earthquakes out here at one time. Foreshocks and aftershocks from that 6.9. Here, folks, we have a 0.9, 1.0 tremor. Right here is a 1.1 tremor. Okay? This is a volcanic field. The Adobe Hills Monte Cristo Volcanic Range. There are all kinds of cones and craters throughout this area. All over here. They're all over here, and they go all the way over to Area 51. Okay? We go north from Aurora Bodie Crater. This is Hawthorne, Nevada. Hawthorne, Nevada. They get earthquakes quite frequently. This is 1.4 tremor. Okay? We go north here. This is Markleeville, California. from the west side of Mono Lake down there to the south. We have a huge, huge seismic zone that runs from down in Mexico at the Gulf of California and runs all the way up here, the Walker Lane Fault. This is a 1.4 magnitude tremor on the Walker Lane Fault. North of Tahoe, this is a, they call this a surface quake in Truckee, California, but it's not a surface quake. This quake, folks, is over 10 kilometers deep, over 6 miles deep, north of a volcano, just north of Tahoe Volcano. Okay? And you can see the Walker Lane Fault skirt the east side of Tahoe here. Skirt the east side of Tahoe. Now these other two microquakes here, this is Cold Springs, Nevada, and this is Loyalton, California. This is a border region of California and Nevada. The Walker Lane Fault area here goes up here to Pyramid Lake. And you can see the red line coming out of Pyramid Lake, the Walker Lane Fault. Now, folks, we've talked about this before. Why am I talking about it now? Because the Walker Lane Fault, folks, if you consult the U.S. Navy map, the Walker Lane Fault will be completely underwater at some point in time. The entire area here, the entire area from the Gulf of California all the way up north here to Pyramid Lake is going to be underwater. It's going to become an inland lake or an inland waterway. An inland waterway. All the way up here to Pyramid Lake. Okay? I just thought that you ought to know. It's a big deal. It's a huge deal. Now, going back down here into Northern California, we have an earthquake on the San Andreas Fault, right next to Monterey Bay. This is a San Juan Bautista. This is a small 3.1 earthquake, San Juan Bautista. They had some shaking today. This is a 2.6. This is in Aromas, California. Also on the San Andreas. North of it, not on the San Andreas, but on the Hayward Fault. This is Alum Rock. This is another 1.6 tremor on the Hayward Fault. We have the San Andreas to the west, the Hayward to the east, and just east of the Hayward we have the Calaveras. Three of the most dangerous fault systems in California, all right next to each other. This is probably one of the most dangerous areas that anyone could be in, right here. Today, also on the San Andreas Fault, over here in Pacifica, California, for probably the third time in the last week, maybe more than that, maybe even 4 or 5 times in the last week, we have a 1.1 tremor in Pacifica, California, on the San Andreas Fault. Then the San Andreas Fault continues north. It goes offshore and then comes back ashore. Then it goes offshore again. And we follow it up here. It follows the coastline pretty well here. It goes just barely inland, and then it goes out to sea again. Earlier today, we had an earthquake right here on what they call the Triple Junction. This was a 2.7 minor earthquake here. The Triple Junction is where the Cascadia subduction zone meets the Gorda Escarpment and the San Andreas Fault. 3 major fault zones out to sea just off the coast of California. We had a 2.7 here. We had a 2.5 right here in Petrolia, California. They've taken those down. Right here to the northeast, this is Petrolia, California again, but this is 10 kilometers, 6 miles, northeast of Petrolia. For this time they got it right. But what they're not telling you folks, can you say Del Rio, California? Del Rio, California, a 1.7 tremor here. Not surprising. An aftershock of the 8.0 earthquake that hit here offshore that they incorrectly identified, calling it a 6.8 when it was an 8.0. That was just a couple months ago. Fascinating. Just fascinating. I just love it. I eat it up. I eat Cheerios for breakfast. Okay, speaking of raising my voice, I'm sorry. I was trying to be crazy there. Last night, I got a complaint. And if I offended any of you, I'm sorry. Last night, when we were talking about being prepared, somebody thought I was yelling, and I was not. I was trying to emphasize the importance of being prepared. And I asked everybody, do you understand? I was only emphasizing what I was talking about. Because we are very close to a very dangerous time in our lives. If it's not going to be a natural disaster, which is going to happen, it's our political fate that's going to hang in the balance. Things are going to be getting a lot rougher. Very much a dangerous time in our lives. And the only reason I was trying to express the importance of it is because, folks, there are people that are not taking me seriously. They're not taking anybody serious at all. I've got a problem with that. I labor intensely trying to make sure that people understand what we're showing you. Trying to get people to understand the importance of trying to save their lives. That was the importance that I was talking about last night. And I didn't mean to offend anybody. I was just trying to emphasize the importance of being prepared. I wanted to make sure that everybody got it. And if I offended you, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to offend anybody. I care about you. I care about you and your family's lives. Or I wouldn't even be here. I put in at least 6 to 8 hours, somewhere between 6 and 8 hours every day, getting information for this show, to talk with you about it, because it's important. Your lives depend on this. Folks, even that disaster drill involving a radiological weapon in Texas that's going on this week, it could have affected everybody here in the United States and in Britain. I am hoping I am crossing my fingers and praying that the powers that be in Britain, in the British Isles, hold their own drills, earthquake and radiological. Earthquakes, you get earthquakes there as well. Please, folks, please be prepared. I don't know who all that I'm talking to in Britain. Yes, I know there are quite a few people that monitor this program in Britain. One of my mods, his first name is Dean. You guys know him as Demon Catman. He's a good friend now. He lives in East Britain. We have a couple people over in Ireland. We've got someone in Scotland and someone in Wales, maybe more than that. I would hope so. But I'm hoping all of you are being prepared. All of you in Scandinavia are prepared. Now, folks, a lot of people here that monitor this program from all over the world don't realize what is going on and what the lifestyle is in Scandinavia. Just to give you an idea. Scandinavia during World War II, for the most part, they did not want to get involved in World War II. When the Germans marched into Sweden, the Swedes handed them the keys to the railroad that went all over Sweden. The Germans raped and pillaged the countryside, not just pulling food to eat. They literally raped women all over Scandinavia, and they killed people. I know this to be a fact because I spoke with women and families that lived through it. Now they are afraid of Putin because Putin has threatened to take a nuclear strike against Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Now those armies, those militaries from those countries have joined NATO. And as a result, we have NATO members that are also helping protect Scandinavia now. Scandinavia shares a border to the north with Russia. So it's one thing to share a border, but there's another to know that Russian troops are at that border. And I'm sure they are. I've seen them there. Only a handful of people at a time that I saw there back in the 70s, the mid-70s, but they were there. And I'm sure there's a lot more now. All I'm saying, folks, I'm asking everyone around the world to get prepared as much as you can. There are countries around the world where their laws tell them they cannot store food. They can only buy that food that they can carry home and eat. They cannot store any other food. There may be people that are doing it, but they're being watched. It's terrible. It really is. It's ridiculous. They're being watched. I love all of you. I don't care where in the world you live. Australia, Indonesia, New Zealand, South America, Central America. My dear friend Larry lives in Belize. He and I have done hurricanes and other work together. Larry is a very, very dear friend of mine. Most of you guys know who Larry is. Folks, this is important. I just don't talk about earthquakes. I talk about any kind of human disaster or emergency that exists. That's why this channel is here. It's not a channel for the faint-hearted, necessarily. I want to make sure that people are protected. And honestly, I don't really give a flying rat's butt where you live. I want to make sure that you're taken care of. My whole goal is to make sure that all of you are protected, no matter where you might be, that you're protected. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. Yes, we talk a lot about earthquakes, because there have been a bunch of earthquakes. But I'm also talking about earthquakes and other kinds of human emergencies and disasters that occur. Because I want to see everybody prepared. I want to see if we can save lives here. I don't much care where you are, but I care about you being prepared. Nothing would matter any more to me than to know that we have 1,800 people watching the show like we did last night. A total of 1,800 people. 1,800 people watch this show. That means 1,800 people got information last night. We now have over 1,000 subscribers to this program. We have almost 1,200 plus subscribers. 1,200 subscribers. Now, one of our dear family members here, Nord, wanted to know if I was having this channel monetized, or better yet, if I was going to be monetized. I applied today to YouTube to get this channel monetized, and after we are monetized, this channel will have greater freedoms to do what we need to do, to reach out even to more people. We're going to have greater freedoms for all of you to be able to support this channel in forms of super chat and a lot of other great things that we can do once we are monetized. That would mean a lot to us, to all of us, me included. I care. I am doing my best as you are. I appreciate the great support that has come to this channel in the last 2 months. In 2 months' time, we're over 1,200 subscribers because of all of you. 1,200 subscribers in 2 months. I appreciate that greatly. We can grow this channel to even more people because of all of you. And yes, I put forth a lot of work to make sure it happens. But you guys support this channel, and you guys tell your family, your friends, your neighbors, your social media contacts, and even the people you work with. I know that's a fact because I've gotten emails and letters from people telling me that they were told about our channel by their friends, and that means a great deal to me. That means our message is getting out, and you guys are helping that, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are my world. You guys are the EMA family, my personal family. Now, I'm showing you the upper Pacific Northwest. I'm going to show you some seismograms, and then we're going to go into east central California. But I want to show you some seismograms up here in the Pacific Northwest. Right now, I'm showing you a tremor. This is just a microquake. This is hilarious. This is literally hilarious. USGS has this as a 0.4 microquake northeast of Amboy, Washington. Well, guess what, guys? It's not northeast of Amboy. Sorry, guys. USGS did not hit it out of the park either. This is southwest, a good distance, probably 25 miles southwest of Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens. Go figure. Go figure. Okay? And we see, yes, Mount St. Helens is here, and out west is Mount Adams. Rarely does USGS ever say anything about Mount Adams, and they haven't said anything about Mount Adams in about 2 years, because I was talking about it. Excuse me. I was showing seismograms at least twice a week of the Pacific Northwest. I was showing what was going on at Mount Adams. Mount Adams was steaming and had minor tremors hitting it 2 years ago. It's still steaming. Sorry, guys, I need a sip of water here. It was steaming. The seismogram showed it. And then USGS cut it off. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network cut it off as well. Wonderful people those people are. Not being realistic and showing anybody anything that they need to see. Mount Adams was steaming. Well, folks, this past weekend, I believe it was Saturday, someone sent me a picture of Mount Adams steaming. And tomorrow I'll show you that picture. I forgot to include it in tonight's program, but I will show you that picture as soon as I find it. But I have it. It's in my file. I'll show it to you this week. Folks, that's Mount Adams. To the west is Mount St. Helens. To the north over here, guess what this is? This is the Great Mount Rainier. The Great Mount Rainier. To the northern foothills we go. This is a microquake on the other side of Mount Rainier. Guess where they say this is? They say this is 12 kilometers northeast of Amboy, Washington. Really? 12 kilometers. That's really interesting. That's fascinating, in fact. Let me find Amboy, Washington here, because it's 25 miles. It's 25 miles. 25 miles from Mount Rainier. Okay, I believe this is Amboy, Washington. Okay? 25 miles from Mount Rainier. Okay? Right there. There is much more than a 0.4 microquake happening at Mount Rainier. A lot more. A lot more. And by the way, I didn't mention what's going on around the world, just really briefly, but before I show you the tremors and everything else that's going on over in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, we're going to that right now. There was a large 5.0 earthquake in Peru today. And just for kicks and giggles, I did an assessment of that 5.0. Those of you that are really into earthquakes, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to take the time to go down to Peru to show you it. But there was a large earthquake, a 5.0 earthquake there. So I did some research. They said it was a 5.0. My research said it was a 4.7. I was blown away. I was completely blown away. USGS raised it up. They raised it up. I did all the calculations. I pulled up all the data from all the seismic stations, 66 of them. The data showed it as a 4.7. They put it up as a 5.0. That's great. That's wonderful. Okay? It's wonderful. USGS rarely does that. But they only showed that one over on the west coast of Peru. Nothing in Chile. There are 23 earthquakes up and down the west coast of South America. They show one. A 5.0 in southeastern China. Another one over in Sarangani, Philippines, South Mindanao, Philippines. There's another one over in Papua New Guinea. It's uncanny what they do and don't show us. It's wild. There's over 28 earthquakes in Indonesia. There's over 100 earthquakes in Turkey. And they don't even show that. Incredible. There's a few earthquakes in Scandinavia. Tremors, but still earthquakes. It's incredible what they don't tell us. Folks, let's open up the seismic events over at Mount Rainier, and then we will go south. I'm going to go south into Southern California with this series of seismograms. The first one I want to show you is Mount Rainier here. Look what we're showing you here. Folks, this earthquake here, this is Rainier, Camp Sherman. Camp Sherman. Look at all the magma coming in to Mount Rainier last night. This seismograph is reporting this earthquake not this earthquake, but these tremors and the seismic data, the lava or the magma coming into this mountain at 10 p.m. Starting at 10 p.m., look what we got. Okay? It starts off with a little bit of magma and then it goes up from there. It increases. It increases. Okay? It's called a magma pulse signal, a magma PULSC signal. Okay? The magma pulse signals start off slow or thin, they get thicker. Then they get thinner again and get thicker again. What you're seeing here is a lot of magma. It really got thick at one point, almost obliterating the white of the paper. That's an awful lot of magma. And it continued for nearly 4 hours. This magma event last night at Mount Mount Rainier occurred for over 4 hours. 4 hours, ladies and gentlemen. Then look what happened. Look at all these tremors and earthquakes. Tremors and earthquakes everywhere. And folks, when you see a small vertical line without a dot in the middle of it, that is steam coming out of Mount Rainier. Steam coming out of Mount Rainier. Look at all these tremors and earthquakes here. And oh look at this. Folks, this that you see in the center of your screen here, This is a magma churn signal. A magma churn signal. What is it? Why do they have magma churn signals? Folks, this magma churn signal represents superheated magma inside the volcano. This magma churn signal normally should be 23 to 24 lines high. This one is just barely 7, which means this seismograph was turned down to less than 26% of real world. 26% of real world. Which means what we're seeing should be multiplied times at least 3. Times at least 3. So these 2.0 earthquakes are probably closer to 3.5s, maybe a little bit larger. And yes, we see some 3 or 2s here. 2.0, 2.2. Okay? Now, directly below and off to the left of that magma churn signal here, what are we seeing? We're seeing some earthquakes in dark blue, aren't we? That's this afternoon. That is this afternoon. Okay? Look at these earthquakes. If we were just to know that these earthquakes happened, not to be reassured by that magma churn signal, we would see that these earthquakes are at least a 2.2 earthquake. Maybe a little bit more with that thick one there. That would be probably a 2.5. But knowing that this seismograph has been turned down to at least 26%, we multiply that times 3, that's a good sized earthquake. Now, why am I saying that? Why am I emphasizing this particular earthquake sequence? Look how many earthquakes there are right there. This is a big deal. But, folks, they're not showing a great deal of magma to the left of it, are they? Magma is what propels the fracturing of the rock. The fracturing of the rock is causing movement in this volcano. It's called volcanic uplift. Volcanic uplift. So we are seeing probably at least a 3.0 earthquake, and 3 of them back to back here. Off to the right of this largest one here. It's a thick one, isn't it? It goes for probably a full minute there. That's just a thick one. Okay? But we see a triangle off to the right side of that. That is a secondary wave. We have a primary wave and we have a secondary wave. A secondary wave of earthquakes. Okay? Then we see all these other earthquakes. Then we come down to a rather thin blue line, a light blue thin line here. This, folks, is at least a 3.0 earthquake. At least. At least. And yet, USGS only showed us a tremor on the northeast side of Mount Rainier. This particular seismograph, guys, is on the east side, on the north side of Mount Rainier. You can see by this seismogram alone that they have not been giving us the truth. As you can see by this seismogram, it's showing a lot more activity than what USGS is trying to sell us. A lot more activity than they are showing. Okay? There's a lot more. Now, I'm running short on time here. I want to show you Mount Rainier, but I also wanted to show you what is going on at Mount St. Helens. What's going on at Mount St. Helens today? Look at this. Look at this, guys. Isn't this something here? This is Sugar Bowl on the north side of Mount St. Helens. Isn't that interesting? Let me enlarge it so you can see exactly what's going on. Again, if you remember, there was a microquake off to the southwest of Mount St. Helens. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay? It's unreal. It's totally unreal. Somebody said Wolfman had done something. She's asking what the heck happened here. I'm stopping right now to find out what happened. I see Wolfman telling Heather hello, asking how she's doing. Wolfman is also before that asking about a troll. Yes, we haven't had a troll in a while. We're going to get trolls. You guys get rid of the trolls, and we're glad you guys do. Linda Covington says, my friend Don Patoka, who's here, who's one of our mods, she says Don hides in civilian neighborhoods, schools, hospitals, and churches. Yeah, he basically does. You're right. And he hides in bases too. Go figure. Yeah, Don Patoka probably got a troll, and that's all right. Linda Covington says, if USGS could use color, I wish they would. I totally wish they would. Okay, I'm just still looking for what happened to Wolfman. And my dear friend Carolyn Martin's here, which I'm so grateful for. Carolyn and I go back 20 years. Isn't that something? We've been friends for an awful long time. Not awful, but a very long time, and I appreciate her so much. Anyway, she says you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can inform others, but you can't make them think. You're absolutely right. Absolutely cotton picking right. It's crazy. It really is crazy. Shirley is here. Shirley Newberry says you had completely dropped off my radar and I just found you again yesterday. I don't think everyone has refound you yet. No, Shirley, they haven't, unfortunately. We had just short of maybe 30 people being 25,000 subscribers on that other channel. But it's gone because of a hacker. Go figure. Anyway, I'm glad you're back, Shirley. We really appreciate you being here. If you have a chance and you know of anybody over that was on that other channel, please tell them about us, please. We'd really appreciate it. If you guys see my face turning a little bit red, it's for those of you that are brand new. A little over a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had radiation treatment last September, October period, all the way through November. I think right before either Thanksgiving or Christmas it ended. But as a result of that and some other medicine that I'm taking, I have hot flashes. So I have sweat literally dripping off my face. And that's what's going on now. And some people have mentioned it in emails and messages to me that my face gets red. That's why. That's why. Linda Covington also echoed what Carolyn said about it's hard to make a believer out of a non-believer. You're right. It's very hard. Wolfman, you're not going away. Wolfman's not going away, guys. I have no idea what happened there. I went back through the chat. I didn't see anything that you did. So no, you're not going away. Kimberly Hopkins says, Sister Heather called you and a few other whiners. I got a problem with him calling my friends whiners. I hope none of you are calling each other whiners. Please, guys, please do not be negative with our other family members here. Yes, some people don't understand some of the things that we talk about. Others think that we go too far. That's just their opinion. Okay? Everybody's got an opinion, just like everybody's got something else. Some people are bigger than others, and that's okay. That's okay. Anyway, guys, I'm just glad you're here. I'm just glad you all are here. I love each and every one of you. We have 126 thumbs up. That's awesome. That is totally cool. Now 127. Please, folks, before you leave tonight, give us a thumbs up if you appreciate what we're doing here. I put a lot of time into this program. Shirley Newberry says, thanks, Ron. Glad to be back. Stay in good health. My dad battled that cancer for 25 years. He made it to 94. That's what I would hope to. I would hope Don and I would both make it that far. That would be awesome. I'd hope all of us make it that far. Anyway, we're just glad that you all are here. Beth Wolf says we all need tall rubber boots. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I walk through and tread through all sorts of crap all day long. I need the longer the boots, the better. Anyway, guys, this is Mount St. Helens. Look at all the traffic here. Look at all the earthquakes. It's not just tremors here. Look at this at Mount St. Helens. This is craziness. This is lunacy. This is lunacy. Look at that big, thick event here this morning. Approximately 9:18 this morning. This earthquake, folks, lasted at least a full minute, maybe longer. Now, I don't see any magma churn signals at all. But comparing the other seismograms to this has also probably been turned down to 26% of real world. So we multiply the size of this earthquake by 3, and all of a sudden we have at least a 3.0, 3.5 earthquake, at least. Look at these others here. Some of these others, it looks like a 2.0, 2.2 earthquake. Multiply it times 3, and we also get a larger earthquake. Okay? They have said to us that there's only microquakes hitting Rainier and Helens. We look at the seismogram and say, no. No. There's a lot more than that. We all know exactly what these dirt bags at the agency do. Yes, I'm going to call them dirt bags. I'm going to call them dirt bags. And I've been called on the carpet by the agencies themselves. And that's okay. They told me that I don't know what I'm talking about. They told me that they don't hide quakes. They told me that they put out all the information. No, they don't. They only put out that information that they want people to see. We have to go looking for the data to prove to ourselves what exactly is going on. Okay? That's what's happening. Okay? This is common all over every one of these volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest. Now, folks, I don't have time to show everything else that's going on here. I'm hoping tomorrow to tell you or give you a thorough show of what's happening all over the Pacific Northwest. But that is just 2 volcanoes that we're showing you here. Now I want to show you something else. Okay? I'm going to take you now to Mammoth Mountain. Mammoth Mountain. I'm going to show you one seismogram at Mammoth Mountain. Okay? This is seismograph MDY. Seismograph MDY at Mammoth Mountain. If we look at the top here, this seismogram starts at 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon. We have a lot of magma here. Again, we have a magma pulse signal that's showing us that there's been an increase in the amount of magma. Each of these lines are 50 minutes long. So this is telling us that we have at least 2.5 hours worth of magma here. And on each line, we have these tiny vertical lines. These are tremors that are being forced on this mountain, on Mammoth Mountain. Tremors caused by an increase in magma pressure inside the volcano, fracturing the rock. Now look over here to the right. The red line here is computer generated. We're seeing a good sized earthquake here. Okay? This is at 1857 p.m. yesterday afternoon. 1857 yesterday. I'm sorry, 1557. No, it's 18. This is 1857, which is 6:57 p.m. Okay? It looks over on the left-hand side of this, it looks to be one maybe starting off as a 1.9 tremor. 1.8, 1.9 tremor. Then it goes over to that red line here. The red line is covering a great deal of information. If we are right, and this seismograph has been turned down to about 26% of real world, even here at Mammoth Mountain, this is a much greater earthquake. Why do we know that? Why do we know that's a much greater earthquake other than the seismograph being turned down? Off to the right. Off to the right here, kids. I shouldn't even call you kids. You're adults. You're my friends. You're my family. Off to the side here, we see another triangle, don't we? That is a secondary wave of earthquakes, a secondary wave of tremors, above and beyond what happened. So we have the primary wave that lasted close to 30 seconds, and then we have the secondary wave that's going off to the right. That secondary wave lasts almost a minute. So this was a much greater earthquake than what they're showing. And look at the length of time that it happened. The tremors themselves lasted about 45 seconds, and then the primary waves hit. Okay? Then we go over here, all the way down here to the left. Again, we have a good sized earthquake here. This happened last night at 2015 hours. That's 8:15. 2015 hours. 8:15 last night. The red line is generated by the computer to get the scientists or seismologists' attention, saying, look here, that's a good sized quake. Looking at it again, it starts out looking like a 2.2 earthquake. Again, this is a much larger quake. We had a good sized, at least minor earthquake, if not small earthquake. Then it dwindled down to a body, or to a secondary wave, and then it kicks up to another earthquake. This one not quite as strong. But we see that triangle again going off to the right. That triangle lasts a good minute. This tells us that this is a larger earthquake than what they're showing. Probably close to 3.5 earthquake. And it lasted a great deal of time, didn't it? Okay? So that's what we're seeing here. They can lie. They can hold things against us. They can say, oh, Ron doesn't know what he's talking about. He's another BSer here. No, I'm not. I'm giving you facts. Anyway, after those earthquakes happened, okay, the magma's calmed down again. But even when where these earthquakes are, we should see a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. But the lines are very thin, aren't they? Magma coming in under pressure inside the volcano, causing those earthquakes, causing those rocks to fracture, causing the earth to move and the volcano to rise. That's what we're seeing here. More and more magma here. Each line is 15 minutes long. We see more earthquakes here down below. Okay? Down here at the end of this seismogram, the magma starts increasing again, but they're only showing some tremors. Down here at the very bottom, it looks to be tremors. There's 2 red lines there. Folks, this seismograph has been turned so far down, it's just barely generating any kind of images here. If the truth be known, these 2 lines, red lines here, represent a much larger earthquake, because they've turned down the seismograph. Again, this is Mammoth Mountain, East Central California. Mammoth Mountain, East Central California. Now I'm wanting to show you one more volcano. It's called Long Valley. Long Valley Volcano. Long Valley Volcano is a supervolcano. It's a supervolcano. There is no surprise to what I'm going to show you here. There's absolutely no surprise of what's going on here at Long Valley. Look at these earthquakes. The red lines are represented by the computer. They're put there by the computer. You see the earthquakes here. Each line represents 15 minutes of time. You can see what's going on. Some of these thin vertical red lines, those are steam lines, telling the seismologist this thing is steaming. Yes, this volcano, this supervolcano is steaming. Yes, it is. So is Mammoth Mountain. Okay? Look at the earthquakes here. Again, this seismograph has been turned down. It's not being true to what's going on. People in this area are reporting tremors. And not just tremors, the ground shaking. The ground shaking. What we're seeing here, guys, in both of these earthquakes, we're seeing primary waves generated. Primary waves generated encompassing about a full minute of time. The tops and the bottom of this one dark blue quake have been cut off. So they're trying to show us a quake where they don't want to be honest with us to tell us how strong it was. The time that it lasted, the duration, was at least a minute. This tells me it was larger than a 3.0, 3.5 maybe. But look at the triangle off to the right side. That's a secondary wave. That secondary wave lasted a full minute, at least a full minute. This also tells me it was a lot larger quake than what they're portraying it to be. Look at the red line here. The red line is telling us a story as well. Look how long that red line is. It's not just about an inch, inch and a half long. This red line is a long line. I believe that the computer is trying to be honest with what is actually going on, regardless of what the machine says. This earthquake was at least a 3 to 3.5 earthquake, period. And this other earthquake to the that's just below and to the right of that, this probably was at least a 3.0 earthquake. Again, I look at the lines here. I look at the lines. Now look at these other lines below that. They're just barely showing magma entering the volcano. This is a supervolcano. We're showing vertical lines again with no dot in them. There's no dot anywhere in some of these lines. Those are steam signals. Those represent steam that's leaving the volcano. Why? 6 to 7% of all magma inside a volcano is water. 6 to 7% of all magma is water. As that water heats up, and there's a relief valve, meaning that great big huge plug at the top of the volcano, a great big huge plug at the top of the volcano that's being hammered from beneath by the magma, is developing holes in it. Holes in the great big huge plug, tiny holes. And those holes release the steam, release the water vapor. Okay, and we see steam coming from the mountain. That's what's going on. How long have these volcanoes been steaming? A great long time. At some point, the magma is going to continue to hammer away at that plug, and there's going to be an eruption, because that plug is going to have its sense knocked into it. That plug is finally going to shatter. It's going to blow, because that magma is hammering up on that plug from underneath. That plug is shattering. That's why there's holes in it releasing the steam. And as that hot steam goes in, this is a physics lesson. As that hot steam goes through that lava plug, that hard lava plug, it heats it up, right? That heat expands those holes. The heat of the vapor, the water vapor, expands the holes, and that in turn allows that plug to allow steam to escape. And it's also widening those holes, which means sooner or later that plug is going to go out. It's going to go out. Boom. There's going to be an eruption at these volcanoes. Long Valley is a supervolcano. It's 23 to 24 miles wide. 23 to 24 mile wide caldera. The volcanic rock that hardened after the last eruption. The caldera floor, the lava floor, is 23 to 24 miles wide. Now, there is an opinion by some scientists that believe that Mammoth Mountain is part of the Long Valley caldera. And if that's the case, now we have a 70-mile wide caldera. Over at Sakurajima in Japan, there are several volcanoes in that caldera. There's Asasan, Sakurajima, and I think 2 other volcanoes in that caldera. So that is just an example of this same theory that we have, that Mammoth may be part of Long Valley caldera. That's huge. That's huge. Now, before I leave tonight, I'm going to take you south. I want to take you south for a reason. I want to show you Kozo volcano right here. Kozo volcano. Kozo volcano isn't just a volcano. Kozo volcano is a volcanic range. A lot of lava all over a huge expanse of land. It's a volcanic range. There are cones and craters all over that area. Yes, it's Kozo volcano, but many cones and craters all over that area. Look what's happening at Kozo. The same thing that's happening at these other volcanoes. Look at that. Excuse me. Sinuses, allergies. Anyway, look at all this magma coming into this volcano, just like the other volcanoes. But look at these red lines that are computer generated. Folks, Kozo volcano is rocking. Look at all these earthquakes. They cut off the top and the bottom of these seismic signatures, which automatically tells us that these earthquakes were larger than they are. They're larger than they look here. Plus, look at the length of time that the earthquakes are going. That also tells us that these earthquakes are larger. We're seeing we're seeing probably either small to moderate earthquakes hitting Kozo volcano. This is the most seismic events that I've seen ever at Kozo volcano. This is the most seismic events I've seen. They're all over here. What would look like 2.0 earthquakes on the right are probably larger than this. Okay? But there's also tremors here. You can see the tremors here. And you can see another good-sized earthquake down here to the right. Okay? Kozo is getting hammered. This is just north of China Lake. Tomorrow I will show you China Lake. It's getting hammered as well. Okay? Now, why is this of interest to all of us? Yes, this is south of Mammoth, south of Long Valley. And actually, I skipped over a volcanic range called Aveyah craters. It's crazy as well. It's crazy as well. Kozo volcano is crazy as well. But it's not the only one here. Let's pop back down to the Salton Sea. Okay, I want to show you this. Look at the heat signature over at Calipatria. See this red dot? That is at Calipatria. You tell me why that there's an infrared signature here at Calipatria. Yes, there's magma down here, guys. There's definitely magma down here in the Imperial Valley. But if you look, the San Andreas Fault starts to go south just west of this hotspot. It goes west of this hotspot. But folks, there's more. Look down at the bottom of the Imperial Valley to the south here. Look at the hot spots here. This has nothing to do with Heber Valley. This has nothing to do with Heber Valley. Heber Valley is about 2 miles to the east. 2 miles to the east. Guys, if you remember when I was showing you earthquakes here, guess where the earthquakes were? at these same hotspots. At these same hotspots. Okay? Does everybody understand what I'm showing you? This is big time important. This is big time important. Magma's down here, guys. Yes, magma's down here. Seismic energy is going on. All these tremors did not just happen because of magma. As I showed you, the San Andreas Fault goes all the way through the Imperial Valley here. All the way through the Imperial Valley. There's something else going on. Look what I'm showing you now. Look what I'm showing you now. This is a seismogram today from Calipatria. Okay? Look what we're showing you here. This seismogram started yesterday at 3 p.m. 1500 hours. You see 1545 on the left-hand side. That's 3:45 p.m. yesterday. Look at all the tremors and earthquakes yesterday. Yesterday. Look at all these here. Then today, at midnight here on the left-hand side. So you see what happened between 3 p.m. and midnight. Folks, let me show you what happened after midnight last night. Look at all of these earthquakes and tremors. These smaller ones are tremors. These larger ones are full-blown earthquakes. And yes, this seismograph has been turned down, so it's not showing us complete truth. These are larger earthquakes than they're showing here. This earthquake in the center here, there's two earthquakes in the center of your screen, center lower part of your screen. They look to be 2.0 earthquakes. I will bet you that they're 3.0s, and yet USGS on their USGS map did not show these earthquakes either. They did not show even half. They did not show even an 1/8 or a 1/16 of the earthquakes and tremors that have been happening here around Calipatria. This is a more accurate label of what's actually happening here south of the Salton Sea. You see it with your eyes. We know darn well that the USGS map is wrong. Look at all these earthquakes here. There's over 200 earthquakes and tremors on this map here. Over 222, I think it's closer to 223 earthquakes on this same seismogram. That's a ton, guys. That's a ton. A ton of earthquakes and tremors that USGS is not showing us. This is an accurate representation of what exactly is going on. You can't lie about this. It's impossible. They're lying, but we have data to prove it. Consistently, this is what's going on in the Imperial Valley. I'm hoping by tomorrow we'll have seismograms to show you of what's going on all over Los Angeles, San Diego, and Imperial counties, as well as Riverside and San Bernardino. I'm hoping by then, tomorrow, that Caltech gets its butt off the ground and starts showing us truth. Okay? That's what's actually happening. Okay? That's what's actually happening. Now, I want to share a scripture with you, and I've shared this with you in the past, maybe twice now. This might be number 3, but this scripture is very important. Okay? This talks about walking in the light. At the end of every program, we've tried to leave you with something more positive, to uplift you. I'm taking you over to the first chapter of John. The first chapter of John. First chapter, verse 7. And I'm going to continue for a few verses here. John chapter 1, verse 7. But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship one with another. And the blood of Jesus Christ, his Son, cleanses us from all sin. If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. In verse 10, if we say that we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us. Folks, let's take advantage. Let's take advantage of Christ's atonement to cleanse us from our sins. Let's repent. Let's repent right now and do those things that will make us better people. Let's be kind and loving to other people. That was the first and great commandment. Let's do that. Let's walk in the light that Jesus Christ gave us. That's my message to you now, and I stand by it. Brothers and sisters, I love the Lord, and you all know it. All of you know where I've been. I bared my soul to you the other day. I've told you all most of my life, my history, my background. I'm here to do a job, and I'm not getting paid much at all. But I'm here to do a job, to save people's lives, and maybe even to save people's souls. To help Christ and to bring Christ to all of you and our friends and neighbors that watch this program. May God bless us this day, this evening. May God bless us that we might have his Spirit to be with us. I leave you my love. I leave you my testimony that I know that Christ lives. The gospel of Jesus Christ is on the earth. We have the gospel of Jesus Christ, and it's true. May God bless us that we seek out that which Christ taught us. We become better people. We become better servants in his kingdom. For he told us that as we serve our fellow man, we're only in the service of our Lord Jesus Christ. May God bless us to have his Spirit with us. May God bless us to bring our homes and our families to where they should be. Temples for our families. To make sure we are righteous to return back to our Heavenly Father. I leave you my testimony with my love and my thankfulness for each and every one of you. Please share this program with everybody. Everybody needs to see it. Everybody needs to see last night's program that we talked about seismic energy and preparedness. Everybody needs to see it. We are approaching probably a catastrophe in our lives. Everybody needs to have this information. I love you. I care for you. Please tell your families, your neighbors, your loved ones, extended families, your friends, your social media contacts, even the people you work with. Tell them everything. Show them this channel and share it with them, and ask them to join us here and subscribe to our channel. Let's grow this to be 24,500. Let's grow it to be 25,000. And let's do it quick. The more people we have here, the greater numbers we have, but it's not just numbers. It's people that get this message, that they too can prepare and save their families and bring their families to heaven. God be with you until we meet again, folks. I care for you. If anything else happens tonight, before we're back here tomorrow evening, we will be back on the air to tell you about whatever happens as soon as the information becomes available. Till then, have a good night. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you around the corner. Good night, everybody. I love you.